Okay, hello, welcome to another Zoom group. We're going to do a bit of meditation. So if you don't want to participate in that and you're watching the video, just skip forward. It's usually about 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And we can get into, you can get into the other stuff. But if you do want to participate in the meditation, that's good. And the focus of these meditations, particularly for the Zoom group, is to do with communication. Um, to do with the broadening, deepening, becoming more aware of the depth of communication that's possible. So before we start, just take a mental kind of snapshot of where you are um, in in whatever room that you are with whatever device that you're looking at this on. And that's the kind of eyes open part of the communication, in the way the technological part of the communication, because it's over Zoom or you're watching it on YouTube or Instagram or wherever you're watching it. And that's one part of it, okay? And then to begin the meditation, I like to just close my eyes. I don't like to get into a special position when I meditate. Not to start off with. I like to kind of catch myself unawares, or catch my body unawares of how am I actually sitting? Because if I get into a very special meditative position and I sit up straight and I do all the things you're supposed to do, I'll miss out on the opportunity of seeing how I am in my body. And because over time, through meditation and through just going, okay, I'm going to meditate, and I just close my eyes, I become more and more aware of the different tensions that I have, different ways of holding myself that are maybe not as comfortable as I think. And I just become more conscious of my posture. So I'd encourage you to do that. Just close your eyes and immediately get a sense of what's going on inside. And then let your body tell you. I mean, depending on where you are with meditation, if you're brand new to it, then, it's helpful to have a system. So you can sort of scan your body from your head down to your feet and back up again, very slowly, very gently. And anywhere you find tension, just let it go. You can use your out breath to do that. If you're familiar with that, and that it could take you a couple of years to become familiar with that, so that you're very familiar with your body. And as soon as you close your eyes, whatever bit is tight will immediately tell you. And you can go through the procedure of letting go of the tension in whatever bit you become aware of, or whatever bit wants to get your attention. So, and you become familiar with your unconscious holding patterns. So for me, I kind of immediately, as soon as I close my eyes, my spine goes, I don't like slouching. Can you sit up straighter? So I nearly always have to sit up straighter. And what my body really likes is, I think it's from the Alexander technique, but it's if you have a sense of, like, if there was a string attached to the crown of your head, just the very top of your head, and it was attached to the ceiling and it was slowly being pulled, your head was being pulled up to the ceiling. That creates a very nice sense of elongation and length in your spine without it being rigid, without you kind of holding yourself rigidly erect. That feeling of your head being drawn up towards the ceiling just naturally straightens out your spine. So my body loves when I do that. And then usually the next thing that gets my attention is my tummy or my belly. I become aware that I'm holding it. So I have to consciously let it go, and then let it go again, and then let it go again until it completely relaxes. And it can take a while, because there's a lot of muscles in there, and different patterns and different holdings and foldings and infoldings. So it can take me a while to actually let my belly flop out. And when you're meditating, I'd encourage you to do that, because there's a lot of sort of societal pressures about looking slim, and that can end up in your guts, and it can cause you to very unconsciously hold your stomach in all the time without really realizing it. I'm always amazed. I'm like, oh my God, I've been meditating for 30 years. I'm still tight in my tummy. I'm still holding it in. So yeah, let that go. Another good place to have a look is your eyes. I find there's always a lot of tension in my eyes, and some of the things you can do to help your eyes is with your eyes closed, is if you just very gently rock your head from side to side, as if you're looking from side to side, and you'll notice that your eyeballs they feel like they're looking straight ahead, and as you gently swing your head back and forth, that they kind of rotate in your eye sockets. And it can be quite soothing, and it's a way of getting the tension to drop out of them, you know. And you can do the same similarly up and down. It's not as, doesn't have the same kind of effect, but side to side is just a very nice way. And then concentrating on it, like there's 6 muscles around your eyeball that move your eyeball, and you know, top, bottom, and on either side. And then there's a couple that help your eyeballs rotate, that make up the 6. So, but it's easy to visualize the top and bottom ones and left and right ones. So you can kind of imagine those or get a sense of those easing off as you just gently move your head back and forth. And the more you have your eyes closed, the more you can have a sense of pulling back from your body, pulling back from the shape of your body, begin to get a feeling of your body with your eyes open, and then your body with your eyes closed, a bit like a jelly mold. It's the best analogy I've got for it at the moment, that you're sort of pulling back. The more you pull back from that jelly mold shape of your body, the more you can get a sense of the shape and how fluid your body can be on the inside. And if you just let go of the idea of the shape of your body, that your feet are down there and your hands are over there and your head is here, and you know, just let it be whatever it is, and let go of the idea of the shape of it. And if your mind is having a bit of trouble with that, you can say, look, it's all going to reappear exactly where I left it as soon as I open my eyes. So just you can kind of play with it, or I don't mean that you consciously start moving things around, but that more that you let go of the idea of what the shape is, and then you let the inner kind of shape reveal itself to you. Now bring your attention to the sensation in your hands. See if you can notice the difference between the sensation in the front of your hands, meaning, you know, the palms of your hand, your fingertips, and the back of your hand. Whenever I bring my attention to my hands and I contrast the sensation of the back of my hands with the front of my hands, I'm always struck by how bigger the front of my hands feel compared to the back of my hands. Again, once I let go of the idea of the shape of my hands, I can kind of really settle into that, and how once I'm not fixed on no, my hands are a certain shape and the front is exactly the same size as the back. Once I let go of that, then I can feel what my hand wants to sort of let me feel like. It sort of reveals itself to me. So get a good snapshot of what your hands feel like, what the shape of, what the sensation in your hands feel is like. Good reference point for that. And then if you want to stretch your hands out on either side, and you can do this if you're watching the video as well, stretch your hands out on either side as if you're reaching out to touch someone. And then staying with the, again, keep your eyes closed, stay with the sensation in your hands and see if you can get a sense of connecting with, let's start off with me, connecting with me. So you'll have the sense of the sensation in your hands that you referenced, before we did this part. And then you maybe will have a sense of something else. That something else will be me, connecting with me. And if you're watching the video, you can still do this because we're kind of behind the scenes now. When you have your eyes closed and you start to pull back from your body and the shape of your body, and you're into behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, time and space operate differently. So there's people all around the world, in the Zoom group, and yet I can connect with them and they can connect with me. And people, in the future watching this video, I can connect with them as well. It all happens behind the scenes. You can still connect with them if you want. So you can be reaching out, getting a sense of connection, connecting with me to start off with. And if you feel that in your fingertips, you can let that feeling of connection go into your hands more and travel up your arm, depending on how strongly you're feeling it. It starts off with the hands because we've got a lot of sensation in our hands. So it's easiest to kind of discern these subtle differences, but then you can feel it in your whole body, the connection. And now see if you can broaden that to include the other people in the group. Again, don't limit yourself with, or would we all be standing in a circle, or how would I, you can just include them in your sensation. It's the same way as you did when you were reaching out initially, but you can just include the other people in the group as well. Same again, if you're watching the video, you can do it. You can connect with us and we can connect with you. Behind the scenes, time and space operate differently. Whenever you're doing this kind of meditation, or you're doing a very kind of focused thing in meditation, it's always good to keep that scanning of your body. Keep scanning your body for tension and keep letting it go, because it accumulates, particularly when you focus on something else, you can accumulate tension. So just keep going back to your body, letting go of tension. It'll help you feel things more closely. So now we've included everyone in the Zoom group, me, and now I want you to include everyone who's going to watch the video. So if you're watching the video, you'll be including everyone who's going to watch the video after you. And you can also include everyone who's watched it before you as well. And similarly, if your mind has got something to say about that, like, that's rubbish, how could that be possible? You can just soothe it and say, look, I'll have a good old think about all this later. But just for now, I just want to entertain the possibility that behind the scenes, everything's different. Time and space operate differently. And I can connect with everyone who's watched the video and who's going to watch the video. And just stay with that connection, because behind the scenes is where a more profound and more deeper connection can occur. So the room that you're in is still there, the device is still there, but you've just included this depth of communication that was there to start off with, that you just maybe were not conscious of. And when people talk about, people have these lovely realizations where they, whether it's, some sort of ayahuasca trip, or they fast for 40 days, or they could have some sort of drug-induced revelation, and they realize the connection. Sometimes it can just happen, but they realize the connection and they go, oh, it's amazing. We're all one. We're all connected. It's beautiful. And not just people, like the animals, the trees, the nature, it's all part of the same thing. And I looked at the tree, and the tree was me and I was the tree, or I looked into my partner's eyes and we just merged, and they were me and I was them. And that's all beautiful. It doesn't happen, though, in the eyes open part of the person. It's not like their bodies physically, you don't physically merge with the tree. Where you feel all that is where we are now, behind the scenes. That's where that profound realization of connection happens. It's behind the scenes. It's where you are right now. And the great thing is, to know, when you know that, then you know you're never really alone. There's always, you can always make connection. You can always connect in with that kind of a universal connection. So we're going to come out of the meditation now in a minute. And similarly, depending on where you are with meditation, if you're starting out, you can often have a very strong feeling of descent, that you've really gone deeply into yourself. And if you have that feeling, then you need to come out of it slowly. You need to return along that pathway, if you like, before you open your eyes. Or it can be a little bit disorienting, or a lot disorienting, depending. So just take a bit of time before you open your eyes. If you've been meditating for a while, and you're familiar with that, you can experiment with just opening your eyes and trying to hold the inner space, the depth of inner space that you're at. There's no real depth, it just feels like depth. So the inner space, wherever you're at, that you can hold that, and the outer space at the same time. And if you open your eyes and you suddenly feel, oh, I've lost it, I haven't got the inner space anymore, it's gone, then you can just close your eyes again, reconnect, open your eyes, close your eyes, just use your eyes as kind of an equalizer to stabilize and balance the two. So you can hold both. You can hold the outer space and the inner space. Because that's kind of where you're going with meditation, is if you think of it in terms of depth, you sort of go very deeply into yourself, but over time with meditation, it's like you bring that depth up to the surface. Okay, so welcome again to the Zoom group. So, as I say, pretty much at the beginning of all the Zoom groups, the time of the guru is over, the time of the spiritual teacher is over. We're all the guru, if you like, or who was Thich Nhat Hanh said, the next Buddha is the community. We're all, as Ram Dass said, walking each other home. So I'm facilitating these groups, and I've got my experience and that kind of thing, but I am not in any way trying to say that I know the truth. There is a truth, there is an ultimate truth, and this is the way things are. It's sharing, and we're all helping each other to emerge more. I'm just sharing my experiences, my experience of things. And I've had people write to me with different questions, which I'll get to, but I much prefer to talk about the things that you're interested in, or concerned about, or want some feedback about, or want to just share with the group. Somebody got in touch with me during the week, and they were saying that they would like to hear from the other people in the group more. that they would, for inspiration, really, that they, they liked hearing me. Of course, they liked hearing me, but that they would like to hear from the other people in the group as well. So I understand that people don't want, because we're recording this, so, people don't, not everybody wants to be in front of the camera, and I completely understand that. And they may not even want their audio, but do feel, don't hold back if you want to type something in, or you can email me and I'll read it out, how things are going for you. And if something's happened that you want to share, do feel free. Now, anybody got any questions or anything they want to share for now?
Yes, John. I would.
Hi, Kathy. Great.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Just been feeling, I think you mentioned the other day, like time, it's speeding up. Things are speeding up even more.
Yeah.
And I've been like losing time. Like, I don't know whether it's from trauma or maybe not the best diet at the moment, but but it's like losing time, and forgetting things, and so disorientation with that. So yesterday I come into my home and it was like, what's that doing on the floor? That wasn't there yesterday when I left in the morning. And I was like, I feel like I'm going insane. Some things that's been happening. So it's like, what's going on? It's a bit, yeah. So it's been scary, to be honest. I was like, am I losing my mind?
Yeah. Well, how scared are you that are you losing your mind, or do you know that it's part of this process?
I was pretty scared, because it's like when you lose time, it's like, because like an example, this has happened a few times, whereas I'm driving, I'm at the curb, I'm at the corner, and you're looking left and right, and it's like, it's clear to go, no traffic, or, it's safe to go. And then I go around the corner and then all of a sudden a car's right behind me. It was like, that wasn't there. And that's happened a fair few times. It's like, that wasn't there. I swear that wasn't there. And it was like, my only explanation to myself is, I must have lost time somewhere because it wasn't there. It's like, how's it so close? It's just like other things as well. Like I lost a whole night a couple of months back, so I just couldn't remember. Like the previous day. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask you why, if you're concerned, like how concerned are you? Because I think it's really important to not try and override your concerns, particularly if they drift into medical concerns, like maybe there's something wrong with me. Because I've worked in natural therapies for many, many years, and yet I'm still very careful about doctors, meaning we have become very sophisticated, or we think we have anyway, but yet, we don't live in tribes, not really, and we don't have witch doctors anymore, but our doctors serve the same function as witch doctors, and they have the same power, meaning that the statistics on when people are told, sorry, Mr. Jones, you've got terminal cancer, you've got 6 months to live, the statistics on I think it's 96%. It's 90 something percent anyway. Let's say it's low. Let's say it's 90%. 90% of people die on the day, 6 months later, whatever the day, you know, that's just an indicator of how powerful it is what doctors say. So I'm really careful about what doctors say to me. But then I'm also really, you know, if my mind is worried about something like, no, this is serious now, we should get this checked out. I will kind of go, okay, well, will we go to the hospital? Because for me, that's like, no, come on, I wasn't, you know, I'm not that serious, you know, I just want to worry about it a bit. And it's like, oh, that's okay. But I'm only going to worry about it a little bit, or I'm going to go and get it checked out, because it's like that thing I was saying before about action purifies, you know. It's like if I'm lying in bed going, oh, did I lock the car? I think I locked the car. Is the car open? I'll tolerate that for a little while, 5 minutes maybe. And then I'll kind of go, okay, any more of this wondering about the car business, and I'm going to get up and check, right? Because I'm not going to let my mind just loop like that, you know? So similarly, like it's not to diminish it, it's to kind of really address and kind of go, okay, am I actually concerned that there's something going on wrong with me? This could, you know, am I concerned enough that I want to go and get medically checked out, that maybe there's something wrong with my brain chemistry, I'm losing time, it's a serious thing. You know, I'd have that conversation. I wouldn't just immediately go, oh no, it's further emergence, it's planetary speeding up, it's all this other stuff. You know what I mean? It's really important, I think, to deal with concerns. Not to, and so I'm not saying it's really important to go and get yourself checked out. I'm saying it's really important to, you know, bring it right out, because often those kind of worries, for me anyway, they're always in the periphery. You know, they're never right in front going, we should go and get this checked out. It's medically, you know, it's always this kind of feeling on the edges of like, oh, I should, maybe I'm being stupid here, you know, maybe it's, you know, and it's like, no, let's bring that right out and deal with it. Because what will happen is if, for example, you bring it out and you go, oh, it's going to be one of two things really, isn't it? It's like, yes, I'm really concerned. Yes, I want to go and get checked out. And then you go and do that. You have to act on it, right? So it'll be that, or it'll be, no, I just wanted to worry about it. I'm just, you know, I really, when I look into it, I know it's part of this process. And if it's that, then it's like, okay, so no more worrying about this. If you keep worrying about it, I'm going to go and get it checked out. Okay. So no more worrying about it. This is what I would be saying to myself, you know. And if I did persist in worrying about it, I would go and get it checked out. You know, because it's like, I can't have worry. It's a drag, you know, I'm moving very fast, very forward. I'm moving fast, very forward in consciousness. And I can't have this break of worry. So I'm either going to take action on it or I'm not. And and whatever I decide, I'm going to just, that's the end of it. You know, I want to stop worrying. I want to stop that drag. Okay. And then once I resolve that, whether that's by going and getting it checked out medically, or by going, okay, I get it. I wasn't really serious about it. I just wanted to worry about it a little bit, and say, okay, well, that's the end of worrying about it. And you can always review it tomorrow and the next day. It's not like this is a one-time thing, you know. You can keep reviewing it. But if you kind of get clear with yourself about, well, what am I going to do about it? It immediately brings clarity, because it's like, I'm either going to take action, in which case I am not going to think about this as part of further emergence, part of growing consciousness, part of anything else. If I'm going to take action to go and get it checked out medically, then that's the end of thinking about that other stuff until I get an answer back. And the doctor says, no, you're grand. Everything's fine. Okay. Or they say, well, actually, yes, there's this, that, and the other. And then you're into that. Okay. So that's really important. That's important. That brings clarity straight away to the situation. So if you kind of, on the other side of that, whatever that is, whether it's the doctor says, no, everything's fine, or there is something, and then you have some medication or whatever, you know, eventually, if it is further emergence, if it is a consciousness thing, you'll be back where you were anyway. You'll arrive back at the same point. You may not have the same manifestations or symptoms, but you'll be back at the same point. And that's fine, you know, because you'll arrive back clearer. And that's the, you know, the point is because you want to just, you know, you want to reduce the drag on the process. And then you can kind of sit right into, wow, well, what's happening? What's really happening here, you know? What's gone on to do with time? What's gone on to do with, it is consciousness in a way by what you're describing, you know, it's like, it sounds like part of you is kind of going into autopilot for certain things, that there's another process at work in you. And it's kind of that thing of, you know, if you drive home, you know, the first time you drive to your house, say a new house, it's like you're noticing everything, you know, it's like, oh, this thing, and it takes forever, right? And then after 2 or 3 years, you can get into your car and be home, and you spent the whole time thinking about something else, or, you know, you don't even notice the drive, your car just does it, you know. It sounds like a version of that, where the processes that are at work inside you are requiring a lot of bandwidth. So you don't have, so, you know, you kind of, your frontal part of you is being absorbed, and then you kind of comes back for the next thing that's needed, like oh, there's a car behind you. Can you just take note of that's a car behind you, you know? Prior to that, it was all going on inside, and your body was just driving home, and, you know, you weren't even thinking about it. Similarly, to do with, I mean, I'm assuming you put that thing in the middle of the floor before you left, and you just don't remember that you did that. Yeah. Well, it's like when you were doing that, it's like you were elsewhere, not, you know, it was just part of this, part of like data that just didn't need to be registered very consciously. That's what it sounds like to me. How does that sound to you? Does that like resonate with you, or do you have more of the sense of the medical side of it?
Well, I actually did go to the doctor, so I had not a very pleasant experience with that. So that wasn't very nice. He actually didn't believe me that I wasn't feeling well. So he just said some horrible things to me, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I was quite... Oh, he said, oh, you just can't come in here and expect to... I just said I wasn't feeling well. I had pressure in my head, wasn't feeling well, wasn't feeling up to driving, like I work in the community. And he said, well, that's not a medical condition. I can't write a certificate for that. Like, if you just wake up in the morning and feel like you don't want to go to work, like, it was just horrible.
Okay. So he thought you were trying to get out of work, really. That's where he was coming from.
Yeah, but I'd already explained I hadn't been feeling well for a couple of days, and I'd been going to work even though I hadn't been feeling well. But I don't know what was going on for him, but it's not what he said to me. Wow. It was horrible, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about doctors. So they're people. You get some great doctors and you get some terrible doctors. And he didn't sound like he was a great doctor.
No, it was quite exhausting.
Yeah. So, yeah. So you went the medical route and you had that.
Yeah, and didn't get any joy there.
So are you still concerned about it? Do you feel like, is that part of you going, well, I should probably go and see another doctor because I still think it maybe is medical in origin?
I'll just sit with it for a while.
Okay. Well, I would encourage you to decide.
Yeah.
You know, one way or the other. Not like, well, it's more just to stop the drag. You know, it's like, Okay, for today, I'm going to, treat it as if it's not medical. Tomorrow, I'll review that and I'll see how I get on tomorrow. But, it's like, for me anyway, I just can't stand that festering static of worry around the outside. It just slows me down. I could feel it slowing me down. So I'm like, I'm going to take action on this. So, I won't have it inside me. So I'm either going to take action if this is me talking to me. If you insist on worrying about this, I am going to go, But if I'm not going to go, then I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just definitely not going to worry about it. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like to me, that's important to decide every day, every hour. Every moment I discover that worry is there. I'm like, no. Because every time I kind of go, okay, I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm right for now and for the rest of the day, I'm going to treat this as if it's an issue to do with consciousness. Then that just speeds everything up. I can just get straight into that then, and I'm not any side worrying about anything else going on.
Okay.
Somebody says, I'm sorry that you had to experience this doctor's lack of sensitivity. Yeah.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Said some horrible things to me. It was right. Yeah, that was disorientating as well. It's like, what? You don't believe I'm feeling unwell? It's like, what?
Well, if that was me, I would see that as feedback to the part of me that's worrying, And like, well, we went to the doctor. The doctor turned out to be not such a nice person. That's feedback. Okay. I'm not saying it's, it'd be like, for me anyway, it's like, well, how many more doctors do you need to go through? This is for me now, talking to me, how many doctors do you need to go through before, you stop worrying about this? Because deep in my heart, I know it's not a medical issue. It's a consciousness issue. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's what's going on for you, but if that happened to me, I'd be like, okay, you were worrying, so we took action. We went to the doctor. We had that result. Now, do we need to do that again? That's what I'd be saying to myself, right? But that's me in my life, my story. I'm not saying that's your case, okay? Somebody else says, thank you for your question, Kathy. I relate to that. Thank you for the advice, John. Very helpful. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, John.
But yeah, I'd be, like everything is, it's that thing of, I know it is. Is it a buzzword? Yeah, I think it was this kind of one of the slogans I had for the "Why do we get sick? Why do we get better?" book. If nothing is random, then everything's a clue. Okay, and it's very true. Nothing is random. Everything's a clue, and it comes from that thing of what I was saying before about either everything is random or it's not. I can't see how there's a middle ground. I can't see how some things are random and other things are not. It's either everything is random or it's not. And if nothing is random, then everything is a clue. So if I, with the losing time thing, I would be going, of all the things that I could have had manifest to, as a kind of to do with my growth in consciousness, I have this one. Why that? Why that instead of all those other things? I'd be really curious about that, of all the, and I'm like this with any symptoms that I have in my body. I'm like, why my leg and not my ear? What does it mean to me? What is it now? And I'd meditate on it, and I'd, because it's not random. So it's significant to you in your process, and it may not, it's like all aspects of it, when we're calling it time, but it could be other things, it could relate to your past, it could relate to your expansion, your power, but it's not random.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else about that, or is that okay?
No, that's okay.
That's all right. Good.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good. Okay. Anybody else got anything they'd like to share, or any questions? Or okay, I had a question come in. I'm an art teacher and would like to introduce a meditation slash relaxation to my Zoom classes. So they're teaching, doing art teaching on Zoom. Any suggestions, thoughts on how to introduce meditation to beginners? Also, I thought about creating a meditation group, maybe when we could do it in person. Would you recommend it? Although I'm not a meditation expert. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny with people and meditation. They don't like having it rammed down their throat, I have found. I can vividly remember teaching like as part of craniosacral training, I used to teach meditation was a component of it. Because you have to be able to meditate deeply to get a baseline. You know, if you put your hands on somebody and you don't know how you feel on the inside, you're not going to be able to know the difference between you and them. So you have to be able to meditate very deeply and know what your inner state is like before you begin to work with somebody, so that, you know, as things change in their system, you can know it's not you, it's them. But you know, it was a longish module in the training, and they had to write an assignment. You know, it was a 12-week thing, and every week they had to do a different thing to do with meditation. It's all helping, you know, deepen the meditation. That was great, you know. And I remember like this guy, and I think we started that, like, it would have been not right at the beginning, but I think the second trimester. So after about 3 months of training. And so it wasn't like just fresh in off the street. Anyway, this guy reported me to the governing body. I can't remember who it was, Vet Assess or somebody like that. Whoever's the Australian who I had the accreditation with, you know, they didn't care so much about the content, they just cared about the structure. Anyway, he thought he'd report me, and basically his thing was, I didn't, you know, sign up to learn how to meditate. I signed up to learn how to be a craniosacral therapist. And I'm like, but, and it was in the syllabus and everything. But anyway, I'm just saying that as a good example of how much resistance people can have to meditation, you know. Even when you say like with art, there's no obvious connection. I mean, of course I could kind of go, well, of course it's going to help you, you know, meditation pretty much helps with everything. But so with something as connected as craniosacral work and meditation, even with that, people resisted. I'm like, oh, why do we have to meditate, you know? So I think it would depend on the people in your class. And I would float the idea, and I would talk about how you found it helped with your creative endeavors and your approach. And if everybody was like, yeah, okay, you could say, okay, well, I think we'd like to just start off the class with a little bit of meditation, you know, and I would make it quite a small percentage of the class, meaning, you know, if your class was 3 hours long, I'd just do like a 10-minute meditation at the beginning, you know, wouldn't do a long meditation. For the same thing, you just, you know, get all this resistance. And then luckily there's so many resources that you can, there's, you know, depending on what kind of meditation you like and what kind of meditation you think would be appropriate, you can just borrow, you know, you can just play some YouTube video or Headspace or something like that. There's so many great resources for meditation. So I'd get one that you like and that you relate to, and I would just play that. Like if you don't feel like you could lead the group yourself in meditation, because I mean, meditation is a very personal thing anyway. I mean, ultimately, everyone's got to sit down at the coalface of their own mind. No one can do that for them. You know, you can sort of get pointers, and you can like, there's great power in meditating together, and if you can meditate together as a group, that's lovely. And you will find that you can go deeper with the group for sure. I mean, you can feel it here anyway, I imagine, that, you know, even though we're not close in proximity, the fact that we're connected behind the scenes helps. So yeah, I wouldn't mind too much about not knowing enough about it. I would just float the idea, talk about how it's helped you and how you think it's a good frame to set for the class and how it will, help the class. And I'd just be mindful that you are kind of dipping into possibly confronting areas, and some people may react quite irrationally. If you know that in advance, then you won't be surprised. You'd be like, well, it's just meditation, and they're like, I hate this class, and they kick their easel over and walk out. You're like, what was that about? And that'll be because, that's the sort of effect meditation can have for some people. It probably won't be like that, but just if you kind of know this isn't a, light and fluffy sort of a thing, it can really trigger people. Okay, I hope I answered that. Anybody got any questions or reflections on that? Okay, somebody says, thank you. I feel with your meditations, although it's not a class, that it's useful when you repeat the same every time. Is that a method that you found useful to repeat? No, I just do that for the the video, really, because I don't know who's going to watch the video afterwards. And if I kind of go, I've been doing these what do you call 15-minute meditations on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook since last March. Okay. And I say the same thing every day. I could probably say it in my sleep now. But I do that because I don't kind of just assume like, oh, well, sure, everybody, I've been saying this for months, because there's always new people. I'm very conscious of current state of everything, and that even though people, because I announced that I'm going to do it 15 minutes before I do the meditation, I put a little thing up saying I'm going to be meditating for 15 minutes, and you're welcome to join me. People might be watching that go by for months going, yep. And people kind of, it's weird. People like that and comment and like, oh, you're the best. And just on that post, they don't come to the meditation. There's something about the consistency of it I find reassuring, and then when I do it, I don't assume that everyone's heard it before, because there's always new people. I'm just very focused on that new person, because the kind of reverse of what we've been talking about to do with communication is, and I've had this right from the beginning, like right from the very first podcast I ever did in 2006, where it's very easy to feel, particularly because I used to work in film and TV, like with TV, it's like the audience, and like say with, rock stars or concerts, the audience, right? So it's very easy to get that in your head. But with podcasts and even this, right, there could be like 10,000 people watch this video, but they're not all together. They don't know each other. They don't even sit beside each other. It's always like with the podcast, I always think there's only 3 people involved in the podcast ever. I'm only ever dealing with 3 people. And like my podcast is listened to by, on average, I think, what is it? It's 10,000 people a month, something like that. 10. So 10 sometimes goes up to 12. Sometimes goes up to 20, actually, sometimes. But I never think about that. I always think about 3 people. Me, the person I'm talking to, and then the silent other person in the conversation, the listener. That's it. Just 3 people. And it's the same with this, like if you're watching this video, it's just me and you. There's no big audience, even if you're part of the Zoom group, like there's a part of it is just me and you, you know what I mean? Unless you sort of interact with each other. And I think that's very good to come back to. Is that why I started saying that? I'm not really sure how I got onto that subject. I got kind of into the whole podcast side of things. Repeating it, yeah, because it's just me and that person. That's how I got into that. It'll be just me and that new person who's like, I've heard about meditation, because it is, I say it every day. Meditation is one of those funny things that people feel like they should just know how to do. They're embarrassed. It's like a social faux pas that they don't know how to meditate. You know, there's that strong thing of like, everybody talks about meditation, and you know, if you've never meditated, you're like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I just know how to do this, you know? Okay. Anybody else got anything about that? Okay, I'll do one more question. I have quite a few things coming in, just like, I'm not going to answer this because I kind of did, but I'll just give you an idea. Here's one. John, the pressure is too much. I don't think I can make it. It's too much change. I feel like I'm going to fail at this. I can't see the way ahead. Is it possible to fail in this? There's quite a few things come in like that. It's just like, you know, it's similar to what Kathy was saying earlier on. It's like, can be so disorienting for the emergence. It can be so, brings up all the stuff you don't want to be brought up. It can, you know, you can feel like you're going nutty. You can feel very illogical and irrational and emotional, and it can be so disorienting. One of the most helpful things I've come across, it was in a Carlos Castaneda book. And Carlos Castaneda is a writer, and he wrote, he's a Mexican man. I think he's dead now, but he wrote quite a few books about Mexican shamanism, or Toltec shamanism is what he called it. And his guru, or his spiritual teacher, was called Don Juan. And he was, you know, a very magic-y kind of a teacher. So he could do kind of magic-y things and change the way he looked and biolocate and all that really interesting stuff. Anyway, they were in a restaurant, a diner, I think it was. And Carlos was, I can't remember, you know, it was always, you know, the way Carlos wrote the books was, Carlos was always the idiot and Don Juan was always really wise. So Carlos would be asking these really stupid questions, or, you know, I'm not saying I thought they were stupid, but that's the way he would present himself. Anyway, he was asking him something about reality, and Don Juan, who was quite ruthless and quite easily, he was quite grumpy in some ways. He got sick of him asking about this thing. He said, look, okay, this table is reality. Okay, the ketchup, the milk, the saucers, you know, and you know where everything is on this table, and you can find your way around it. And if you change yourself on the inside, it's just like taking this cup and moving it an inch to the left, and you feel like you've had a huge revelation, but everything's still on the table. You haven't got a clue. And Carlos was like, what? He said, look, if I brought you to the real reality, which is under the table, with a space under the table, you'd lose your mind. And I've always remembered that, right? I'm probably, you know, I'm probably misremembering it, but I think it's a great metaphor for how we are on the inside. So like all the things on our tabletop, you know, the mystery is what's under the table to me, but all the stuff on the tabletop is I think of it as that's how things are internally. So the ketchup might be shame. The salt might be self-esteem. The saucer might be childhood trauma. You know, that knife over there in the corner, that might be jealousy, and this fork might be rage. And everything is as it is, right? And we kind of have these ideas that like, oh, if only I could stop being so shameful. If only I could get a grip on my anger and stop flying off the handle at everybody. But and that's all lovely and great, but I find it's a very good image to have, because it's like, you know, you just want to move the what did I say? The ketchup, the shape. You just want to make that bottle a little bit smaller. You don't want to make the bottle disappear completely overnight, because then you'll be really disoriented. You'll be sort of wandering around on that table going, I don't know where I am anymore, because it would be like waking up one morning and you open the door, you know, to the bathroom, and it's suddenly the garage, and you're like, what happened? You know, I mean, like Kathy was just saying, like, just how disorienting, just, you know, losing time. That's a relatively relative thing. It's not like the wall in your house moved and wasn't where she thought it was, or the car changed into an elephant, you know, like, and that's the effect that, you know, changing the ketchup into, or getting rid of it or turning it into something else, it's very disorienting. That's why I encourage people to just gently change, you know, to not be like, I want to wipe everything off the table and start with a clean slate. And it's understandable to have that desire, but it's so disorienting, and it makes you feel like you're losing your mind, you know. So this person saying, you know, can I fail at this? You know, that'll be one of the things, you know. It's like, no, you can't fail at this. You can't. You can feel like you're failing, but you can't fail, because there's nothing, it's not a test. It's like, it'd be like listening to a tree going, a little sapling going, I'm never going to become a tree. I'm going to fail at being a tree, you know. Well, you can just think, you can think that, but you'll still keep growing. You'll still turn into a tree regardless of what you think, you know. No? Okay, lovely. Okay, well, lovely to see you all again. Lovely to connect with you all, future, past people, video watching people. And yeah, see you next week. See you for the daily meditations if you come. And if not, I'll see you next week for some more Zoom group.